Up next on ijdm, we are building our very own scrolling cable guide for our channel lineup. Let's check it out.
Another visitor. Stay a while. Stay forever.
Okay, getting right into this. We're going to keep this one brief as possible, but you know how it goes sometimes. I get going on rants and whatever. I basically wanted something old school, and I wanted a cable guide, not necessarily that I scroll through an interactive guide, but just one that's on one of my channels that basically just tells me what's on. Sometimes I don't feel like taking the remote and flipping through and scrolling up and down through 200, 300 some channels that I get in on my system. I just want to be able to sit, take a look and say, okay, this is what I want to watch, and then I know it's on that channel. Easy peasy, can't go wrong there. So with that, let's get out of this full screen mode and go back to regular old windowed mode, and let's start from the beginning. As you saw on one of my other videos, I basically took in a Prevue program and somebody had modified it into kind of an emulator simulator thing, was able to put some channels in it. I wasn't able to get it to actually load my exact lineup because it's kind of set to what's available in the area depending on your cable system, antennas, and so forth. But I didn't really want to use Prevue Guide. I felt like the screen's wasted with this upper tier that really isn't something I needed. Most cable systems, yeah, that's what you were looking at. That's what you saw when you went to your Prevue channel or your TV Guide channel or your Zap2it channel. You basically saw something like this on most cable systems. However, some cable systems also use another program called Zap2it. I found the Zap2it one, a lot of people from the Prevue world are going to hate this, but I found it far superior. I just found the coloring on it, it was much more pleasant. The scrolling was a little weird, how it depending how they had it set in the settings, it was just a little weird there. But I mean, the one thing about this that was nice that I saw more often than not was sometimes this was even full screen. So it was actually like you didn't have this upper tier section where there was an ad or anything. They actually used the full screen so you'd get more for your money when you're trying to just see what's on. You can actually see more channels at once rather than just 3 or 4 on the bottom. So my idea was simple. Let's create something like this. Well, the first thing I set out to do was try to find the Zap2it program, figuring it's got to be out there somewhere. Well, plenty of Prevue stuff, sure, yeah, and you can make it work, but then I would be dealing with the same thing with trying to bring the data in through XML files, converting it over, blah, blah, blah. It was just too much work. I mean, somebody could probably make some comments on how to easily do it or replicate this system. I mean, could you do something maybe in Excel or whatever with the XML files and bringing it in? But the overlying problem that I still had was just customizing to the exact channels that I have in my system. Yeah, I want the data, but sometimes FX isn't on 56 on my system. It's on another channel. So that being said, that's why I went to this. So how do we set this up? Well, the first thing you're looking at here is it looks pretty clean, right? We want it to look clean and we want to scroll full screen. We want the thing to look like an actual Prevue guide. Well, you have to go through a few steps, but the biggest and easiest thing to do really is to get yourself the Origin uBlock system, or uBlock Origin. I had that backwards. How often do we do that here on IMJD? Oh wait, it's IM something. Anyway, it just doesn't matter. So here's where this comes in. And where this comes in that you're seeing on the top part of the screen, if you can see it with my cursor. It's kind of hard because I have the camera back here and I'm kind of sitting to the side of it here. But once you get that installed, basically what it does, it blocks out all the elements you don't want to see. Shh, do not tell Titan TV this, because I'm sure, and they're in the middle of changing things, so who knows how long this thing will last. So the idea is if you see me turn off this system and how it really looks, with all the things I blocked out, you can see that there is a crap load of ads that just pop in, and it just wouldn't look right if I'm trying to scroll through and you got all these windows and things going on. It's too much. I mean, it doesn't look the way you want it to look. You want it to look simple and clean like one of these other ones I showed you, earlier. So the idea is what I basically went through is, and just showing you the easiest way to do this, and I have you block Origin off. Let's just turn it back on. And I'm not going to go through everything I blocked out, but basically you should be able to see there what happens when I turn it back on. And the general idea is, let's see if we can go into the actual blocked pages tab, which I think is in settings. Yeah, here. So let's just unblock one thing, and let's just take out number 2 and hit apply. And that's just in your filters setting in the tab thing. So when I go back here and reload this, something should pop back in that wasn't there before. Maybe. Okay, well, we didn't do much there, did we? Maybe on the bottom of the page something came back. Oh, I think some of this blocking came back. Well, let's just say, for instance, we want to block out the Titan TV logo. Not have that at all. I left it there because it didn't bother me. So I can just go in, I can hit block element, and then it'll say the rule and what it is, and hit create, and bam, it's gone. I'm not even going to have it there. I just have my clean preview guide. Now, just for sake of how they run the channel and make their money, or I should say website, how they make their money, yes, I do use this in regular mode. This is just purely for what's scrolling on my TV. It's just too bad some of these companies aren't thinking ahead that you could actually build a preview thing that goes on your TV, but that's where, in the second part of this video, it's going to get a little more complicated. But for now, you get the general idea. Like, I just blocked out that Titan thing, and then if I want to scroll, well, we'll get to that in a second. But if I want to go back and change it so my Titan TV logo shows back up, I would just go over here. It would be the last one I did, and it says to block out the Titan TV logo on the last line. Just take that out, apply the changes. I'll go back over here and I'll hit reload, and you should see it pop right back in again. Easy peasy. And then the only thing is, if I have to customize, which I usually do on a separate computer than the one I'm actually running it on, what I'll normally do with it is I'll just turn it off to get my login, and then make the alterations I want in the settings and go from there, which is what we're going to do next, is go to the whole settings thing. So there's a little toolbox here, and I think there's another one here, site preferences. I think it takes you to the same place. And let me get my trusty glasses on here, because it is pretty small. Now, the way I set this up, I just went with broadcast stations first, and then, of course, my time zone is Eastern here. Yeah, we do observe daylight savings time here. Of course, I want the current time. Grid, I only went 2 hours, because anything beyond 2 hours, I felt like there was just too much information. The lineup order specifies the default order of channels. I just left it in lineup order. Unlike some of these crazy companies like Sling, it's starting to happen with Samsung TV, Roku TV, Tubi. People like channel numbers, especially your older generation. It gives you an option of saying, most people can remember the number. Hey, channel number 63 is the weather channel. So I can go there, and there is the weather channel. When you remove that option, it kind of creates a different feel for TV. It doesn't make it have this earthy feel to it that it should have. So that being said, I like having channel numbers in my grids. I wish they'd offered that option with Sling and some of the other services out there. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to go that way, just because of the number of channels now. And honestly, in some cases, it does make it makes more logical sense to actually have the channels lined up alphabetically rather than by number. But still, and then even then, they're always adding stuff, so the channel number could constantly be changing. Going on, font extra large, of course. Yes, when I ordered that value meal at my favorite fast food place, yeah, I'm gonna get the extra large fries with that. I shouldn't, but yeah. Show the advanced menu by default, no thank you. The default width, yes, I wanted to use the full screen. Text wrap, you can see some of the settings. I'm not going to go through everything. We're not doing a PowerPoint at a corporate retreat here where the speaker's reading everything on the screen that you're already reading anyway. And you can basically see fixed height. I have that checked off. I don't want it to show the program details on hover. There's a little tricky thing. You want to make sure your cursor's off the screen so it's not showing you the preview of what you're going to be clicking on. I want the channel logos there, and then the grid coloring and the pop-up doesn't really matter because I'm not really using the pop-up option. And then for the fields, I basically just use episode titles, year of production, and include season. The rest of the stuff, it just makes it too muddy. It's just too much information going on there. Daily view page default is 3 days, so I usually use it as a 3-day thing. So you can change that though to 14 days or whatever, but I prefer the 3-day option. I don't need the hints box or the third party. Then your login is just your login. You set that up how you want your login to be, just like any other site you would sign in. Of course, we don't need that tab. This one's where I brought in my broadcast stations information, and then this is how I was able to edit the information in the channels. So if I hit edit channels here, there's all the channels you were seeing on the TV, and I basically add and subtracted channels. The ones in red are the ones that either I blocked out because I don't really watch them and I don't need them in the grid, or I've straight out removed, or it just didn't have the information for them. But there is a custom field. If I go back here to the top, you can hit add channels, and that's where I can add the channel and then say find the channel by name. And so if I want to add, say, the weather channel, I type in weather channel. Well, there's the weather network, but then I hit weather network, and it asks you for the channel number, and that's where I can designate where I want to appear in order on the grid. So that's how I was able to customize it to my system. That is very handy. Again, with some of the betas I'm seeing of the new Titan TV, I'm not sure you're going to be able to do a lot of this stuff. Especially with the grid coloring, which I think is a missed opportunity. And here's where I was able to set the grid color elements and set them exactly pretty much the same as Prevue, and I think Zap2it, more Zap2it than anything, where normally everything appears blue for normal programming, movies are red, news is purple, and sports is green. Just kind of gives it a little differentiation rather than just seeing a bunch of grids on your TV. DVR options, I don't really use that because I'm not really have this connected up to any system I use that on. So there's all your settings in a nutshell. Now, the other extension you're going to want, and this is Edge, of course, but you can use Google Chrome, and I believe Firefox should work, and it should have the same similar extensions. And I do have Dark Reader in here, so that's one to think about too, where it's kind of giving it that color that you're seeing when I go to the main page. Which, if we go back and try to go to the main page here, somewhere here, there. These colorings, if I turn off this option for Dark Reader, you see it's white. And I mean, there's ways you can change that. I'm sure that's easier, but I just use my Dark Reader option here, and yeah, bam. So I guess the 3 extensions breakdown is your uBlock origin to get rid of all this stuff. Then your next thing you're gonna want to do, we'll turn that back on and reload it here real quick and get rid of all those ads. And then the Dark Reader, all available on the extension store. And then of course the auto scroll. And this program is just called Simple Auto Scroll. I'm sure a lot of people in the comments, what about the scrolling program? Simple Auto Scroll. The setting I'm using on it to keep it scrolling is scroll 1, pixels every 20 milliseconds. Make sure you hit loop, you want it to loop, and then save as default, and then there you go. It's just gonna, when it gets to the bottom, it's just gonna bump and go straight back up to the top again. The other thing you're wondering about, okay, what about refresh? This page actually is set to auto refresh on its own. So I didn't need any auto refresh and having to worry about the simple auto scroll re-triggering again, because this just updates, and it usually does it every half hour or so. It'll just shove everything forward and bring in the next half hour of programming. So it works pretty much exactly like these old systems worked with Prevue and Zap2it, and I'm sure there's some others I may not be mentioning, but those are the main ones that I've seen over the years. Now in this next part of the video, we're going to cover how to get it actually running on your cable lineup. Depending on what you use and how your TVs are set up, there's a few different options. One option is obviously to have your browser running and do a screen capture, send it through OBS, and set up some kind of link that it sends it to your TV. I'm not going to get technical and get into that side of it. That's more for the people that do that kind of thing. I'm sure it would be easy, and this, that, and the other, but basically I'm going to tell you how I did it on my system. And my general idea was that I just basically used one of those boxes that basically is one of those RF converters that you can get through. Let's see if we can find it. It's called an RF modulator from, what was that company called? It wasn't Channel Master, I don't think. Maybe it was Channel Master. Is there Channel Master or the other big one? Yeah, well, it's Channel Master. Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, I have one of these things. So what I did is basically hook this in line with my antenna, where all my antenna channels come in, and it and set it for channel 1 point, I don't know, it's on 1.3 or something like that. It's one of the ones I wasn't using that's right at the beginning. And I was able to inject that basically into what's coming in over my antenna experience. It was just easier for me than trying to do the OBS, and plus I didn't really have many free computers to have dedicated running this and then also handling my actual channel service, which I did show in another video, and I'm not going to get too much in detail with this, but what I'm running here is the channels or get channels program. This is the server side of my Mac Mini that's located over underneath my TV. I use as my primary server. And then here's where everything comes in. And then as you can see, if I go to manage lineup, I labeled this Zap2it just because it was the easiest thing to find, and yeah, it kind of looks like Zap2it. So there it is on channel 1.3. So when I'm going through my different channels on the TV, it'll appear there. And then I think I have it set for appearing on channel 100 and, well, it's not there on this one, but I do believe it's also set to appear on channel like 101 as well, so that if I'm here or I'm kind of halfway through, 1/3 of the way through my channel lineup, then I can at least go ahead and jump to, well, I can show it here, I guess. If I'm halfway through my lineup, then like here it appears on 1.3, and then say I'm way up there and then I don't want to go back, then I also have the option to go to it also on channel, there it is, 101 right here. And that's just a matter of the get channels programming when you're setting up your server side of it. I may do a video on the full setup of this. I think I kind of covered it briefly or kind of showed it on one of my other videos. But it's just when you add your sources, you can set your different things in and how your channels come up, whether you're using the Samsung TV, Pluto, if you're using the Spectrum TVE, Hulu, or of course Sling TVE service. And this is just the one I like because it's very fast, very quick, and it just works. So let's take a look at this on one of my main TVs that I watch and sit and hang out in the living room. Let's see how it works there. All right, we sort of got that screen level, kind of. The thing is the tripod fell over the other day when I was out on a filming thing, and it totally bent up the little piece of plastic, so it's kind of difficult getting things level. So there we are on my weather channel. I'm gonna just go back to the guide here and take a look. And as you can see, 1.1 is my Tampa weather channel. My Chattanooga channel is 1.2, and then channel 1.3 shows up as Zap2it. So if I go ahead and hit the button for Zap2it while I'm just sitting and hanging out on my couch, there it is. I can just, chill out. And the nice part I was able to do on my server is, and all this does on the server is it basically, same thing you saw on the main computer, it's just running in a browser, full screen, on the auto scroll, and in the background, of course, I have some, well, this one's kind of weird, but I basically have some of the type of music they played in the background. I have it on very low. The different music they played in the background on the Prevue channel and Zap2it. So on that note, I don't really have much else to say. Yes, people, this was your retro video for the month, or basically the one I've been promising for a while, because this really is kind of a retro thing. Most people are going to be sitting going, well, how do you go in the guide? And I've got this question from company and friends, like, well, how do you go in the guide and do it? I said, well, that's not what it's for. The idea is I come, I sit down, I don't know what I want to watch. I don't feel like filtering through the channels. So I just throw this on for a minute or two, see what's on, say, okay, well, yeah, I want to watch Weather Unfiltered on Weather Channel, channel 155. Then I can say, okay, well, I can go to Weather Channel 155 and do it on my actual grid and know exactly where I'm going, and I have to sit here and scroll through and look at all the descriptions. I've already done that. And then, yeah, okay, it's a little redundant, but the idea is simple there. It's just basically one of those things I wanted that I feel like is greatly missing now on most cable systems and providers now, that it's kind of a nice space or channel to have to just kind of mellow for a second, relax for a second, see what you want to watch, rather than sitting here and going, okay, I'm paging through my 250 channels. You can just sit and watch it go through automatically. And hey, wouldn't that be a great option even on an EPG like this, that there was an option you can hit it and it would actually auto scroll? Huh, well, Why don't I make the big money? Who knows? That'll do it for this ijdm. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.